Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindfully Curious podcast. My name is Steph, aka at Rabbit Legion, and I will be your host. It really is an honor and a pleasure to host this space for conversations to happen. And last episode was so beautiful. If you listen to it, it was with my friend Jessica, where we talked about connecting to your intuition, and we introduced the subject of breath work. So today we're gonna go in a lot deeper into this breath work practice business. And the guest for today, my friend, my brother Pauly, he is a SOMA breathwork facilitator and the founder of the Reconnection Lab. His mission is to guide others through the process of reconnecting to the ability to heal from past experiences and learn to love ourselves for who we are. A journey that he has been on himself. And during this conversation, Pauly shares his journey, insights that help him find home within himself, and how he found the magic of breath work, and most importantly, how we can all benefit from connecting to our breath. Attached in show notes are all of Pauly's social media handles, as well as a link to a free breathwork session. So if you listen to this episode and you're curious, I highly recommend that you check out the link, sign up for a free breathwork session, and give it a try. It really is a cool experience to have under your belt. Now, this is the penultimate episode of season 2 of the Mindfully Curious podcast. So that's bittersweet, but don't worry, I have season 3 queued up and ready to come at you April 2021. So really don't have to wait that much longer for it. Next season is going to be completely centered around self-care and creativity, self-love and creativity. So I'm pretty excited about that. So again, this is the penultimate episode of this season. And next week's episode is going to be a solo cast where I am going to try to wrap up season 2 by bringing up my favorite moments from each episode and kind of digesting and reflecting on what I learned through each conversation. Now, I do have an announcement. I started hosting a room on Clubhouse Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So if you are curious or interested in coming to chop it up with us about creativity and how we can nurture and empower creativity in ourselves and in the world, I would love to have you there with me. And if you need a Clubhouse invite, please feel free to reach out to me on social media, and I would be happy to facilitate that for you. Again, I am hosting a room on Clubhouse devoted to nurturing and empowering creativity, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Coming soon, I will be offering workshops to help you dive into your creative journey. So look for those coming soon to a Zoom room near you. Last but not least, I want to thank you for being here. Remind you that this is a labor of love that we get to do for you and because of you. So the guests show up because of you, the listener. So please, if you're at all inclined to reach out, have any questions or feedback, I have attached all of my social media links in the show notes, as well as our guests. Now, this episode is going to start a little bit different. We are going to be taking advantage of our guest gifts, and we are going to be starting this podcast by having Pauly lead a short but very sweet breathwork session for us. So after the drum beats, you will hear prompts to this session, and I highly recommend that you give it a try wherever you are. I hope you enjoy. You want more of this breathwork magic? Remember, I have linked all of Pauly's information on show notes, and he is offering a free breathwork session through the link I've listed under show notes. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time, your attention, and most importantly, your love. Peace.
Okay, let's just take a moment. We'll just close our eyes. And we're going to breathe in for a count of 4 in through the nose. In, 2, 3, 4. And out for a count of 8 through the mouth, like we're blowing through a straw. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now do that in your own time. 2 more times. You should be feeling more relaxed, more centered. Just getting away from stress, anxiety. Just bringing yourself into that present moment.
Pauly, thank you for intro us in like that. I always like to start my conversations with at least 3 breaths so that we can kind of like get in sync. But man, that almost made me feel like I like dropped into a meditation, like I felt my eyes relaxing. So that was really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you about this magic of yours that you're sharing with the world through breath work. And I kind of like starting the conversation by giving you the floor and letting you tell us who you are today and just a little story about how you got to be here.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I'm a breathwork instructor. Really is the simplest thing, but I've been on a holistic health journey really for a long time. And through discovering breathwork, I realized the foundations of so many other programs are just missing. You know, the foundation of reconnecting back to breath. Breath is our life. Breath is who we are. And we take that moment to slow down and breathe. We reconnect back to our true self. So I did all the nutrition, movement, training, and the simplest thing was breath. And what led me to that was my mum being a Reiki master really kind of pushed me into that kind of healing modalities. And I didn't really step into it. I kind of ignored that calling for a long time. My masculine energy was just getting in the way and wouldn't let me step into the truth. Just, airy fairy bullshit, kind of the masculine energy. Just, it always does that. And it took me a long time to really step into it. And having my own struggles growing up, being bullied for being overweight, led me down that personal development route. That when I got into that personal development route, I was starting to peel away the layers of armor that I put around myself, which was that masculine energy, the protective layer. And as I broke it down more and more, I started connecting with myself. And then I stepped into the healer that I was meant to be, the healer that I was being called. And yeah, it just really opened up so many doors. And I think one of the other huge things that really solidified it for me was seeing my sister go through her own traumas and not have the tools to deal with it. That then it just kind of, she ended up drinking and unfortunately went the wrong direction, which then led to her death. Whereas if I knew what I know now when my sister was in that position, then I could have helped her. I could have spoke to her about the benefits of breath work, the benefits of eating correctly and how that can affect our mind. All of the tools and modalities that I've used, ayahuasca, just so many different tools just to help her, then it could have changed things. But instead, now she's just kind of solidified what I want to do. And that is to help other people with that.
And that's such a beautiful way to alchemize that you get to do by sharing your gift, by sharing your magic, is that while you may not be able to go back into the past and change it, you can make that difference for so many here forth. And like 4 generations, dude. So how dope is that?
I couldn't ask for anything better, really. It is a gift in itself to be able to now go forward and help other people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's really cool too that your mom was a Reiki master, because I personally grew up, I'm Mexican, and my grandmas are probably at least like 75% native Mexican Indian. So I got to learn a lot of their like healing modalities, and like they kind of do something that I would call energy work. But I've never, like, because I had that connection to that kind of stuff, I never really looked into other types of alternative health. So, what is Reiki?
Well, Reiki is energy healing. It's another name that was given. There was a guy, Dr. Yusui, who he fasted. I think it was for 21 days, and he had these symbols come through, and that's where the symbols come from, and now are used in Reiki. But to me, it is energy healing. It's energy, and we have to go through, to become a Reiki master, you have to go through a series of attunements to tune into these symbols. But that kind of goes against what I believe, which is that everybody is open to this energy. We don't have to inherit the power, and we also don't have to give away our power to ask somebody else to heal ourselves. I personally believe each one of us has that ability to heal ourselves inside of us. And we just need to activate it, not through attunements. We just need to slow down and reconnect and be present.
Wow, that is so much wisdom in what you just said. So much. First, I just want to acknowledge that you are so open-minded. And do you think, like, when you were a kid and your mom was, was she able to like help you? Like, if something happened to you, she was able to like practice her skill on you?
I only really noticed my mum doing Reiki as I was older. So I'd say maybe even when I was 17, 18. So it wasn't from a young age that my mum really did it. But the interesting thing was my mum didn't feel like she belonged. So finding Reiki for her was actually finding that belonging. And again, it's like I wasn't stepping into who I was. I think she wasn't owning and stepping into who she was. So then discovering the ability to heal, to do what she was doing with people, with Reiki, then it just kind of gave her a sense of belonging, gave her a purpose.
Man, and purpose is such a great ally in our journeys. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've heard this quote, but I don't remember who it is. But it basically says that the person that has a why can bear any how. And I feel like that is so true, at least for me. Do you think that you were kind of inspired by your mom, like stepping into that power a little bit, kind of like throughout your journey? Do you think like maybe she did inspire you to change, as well as, obviously, like what happened with your sister is like so deep, and of course like such a huge thing to happen to anyone, for anyone to go through. But do you think maybe that also inspired you?
Yeah, definitely. She was kind of encouraging me to do Reiki. But I think the biggest thing that really inspired me was when she introduced me to her Reiki master and her teachers. I went for a healing session and I really had no idea what to expect. And yes, I was aware of what Reiki was because my mum would practice, she'd do practice with me. She'd try and get me to activate the energy. And but then when I went to her masters, her guides, it was like it was a whole different level. It was sound healing, there was crystal healing, there was one of the ladies was a medium as well, so we were really connecting with so much energy. And it was when I walked out of that room, I had this application on my phone. It was like a quote app, and I hadn't really. To this day, I do not remember any other notifications coming through. And I walked out the door of the after the session. I turned my phone on, and I got a notification from that app, and it said, "Pay attention to this. It's the doorway to the awakening." And I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. It was so strange. I had never, honestly, I don't remember having a notification ever from that app. And then I'd go back. I had another vision there. Saw mountains. I saw a guy with dreadlocks, and I saw this earth. It was like an eyeball, and in the where the color is of the eye, the iris, it was like the earth. And I got home after that session. This was another session, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw this eye that I saw, and it said about people who are here to help heal and help heal the world. And again, it's like now I'm talking about it again, it's like shit, yeah, reinstilling it into me. These synchronicities that I saw, that I kind of reminded myself of, and then kind of it fades away again. We forget about them. But yeah, it was just incredible. So I think because of my mum doing it, that really inspired me by guiding me into the people who then connected me even deeper.
Wow, that's really cool. So is that kind of like when your journey of starting finding your dharma, or your, gift, your sauce of breath work started? Or do you think you started even before then, in a way?
I'd say that was the start of me connecting on the holistic journey, on the personal development journey. And it kind of led me down a lot of different routes of different kind of therapies, classes, ways of learning about who I am. I have counseling, I did courses, um, LSD when I was in Australia. That really opened my mind. I think that was a huge thing that really opened my mind. And it's just been little bit after little bit, just adding on. But then when I discovered breathwork's only been part of my life for the last 2 years. And to me, it's just such a simple thing that should be taught to kids in school. And I'm not talking about like breathwork ceremonies, full hour ceremonies, just the simple act of breathing correctly, which is just so powerful in itself without the healing, the ceremonies.
So what does that look like, breathing correctly?
In through the nose, out through the mouth, and a lot slower than probably most people believe.
So that breath work you led us through in the beginning of the podcast, I notice it's kind of like 4 to 8. So you're like taking way more time exhaling that inhaling. Is that like a recipe that I want to use all the time, or was that kind of special for this?
So when we extend our exhale compared to the inhale, we go into our parasympathetic state, so our rest and digest. So a lot of people generally will be more in their sympathetic because they're shallow breathing, they are just stressed. There's so many stresses in people's lives, especially right now during this COVID time. Jesus Christ, a simple thing of extending the exhale can bring people back into the parasympathetic. And that's why it's the whole thing of breath work is actually really hard, because so many people have tried a type of breath work and think that is breath work. It's like, for example, Wim Hof. Then you've got holotropic breathing, you've got rebirthing, you've got SOMA breath, which I teach. But it's like there's so many different types that are all kind of under this umbrella, but I think it needs to be kind of talked about in a different way in terms of type of breath work. Like Wim Hof is really good at stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So actually the stress response, it can actually, not for people with anxiety, it can be actually really bad for them because it just activates that anxiety more.
That's so funny that you say Wim Hof and anxiety, because what kind of led me down this path of like self-discovery and I don't know. Anyway, this path of just being curious about myself was obviously my mom died when I was 17. And as soon as that happened, I was like, well, I'm going to be fucked up from this. Like, I'm going to need something. Therapy, whatever. Tried a couple things. I thought I was better, but of course, then more things happen, and then more things happen, which, life. And so I just kept exploring different avenues. And at some point in my life, I had really like bad crippling anxiety where I had to be medicated. And one of the things I learned through that experience with anxiety and panic attacks is the importance and how much your breath can impact your mental and emotional state. Because panic attacks are just basically a person hyperventilating and causing themselves so much stress, which later on, I got that exact same feeling of getting a panic attack when I was trying Wim Hof breathing. So funny you mentioned that. But yeah, just connecting to the breath really is such a healing tool, and one that we all have, one that we're constantly using. So I am so happy that you're here to talk to us about breath. So how did your journey with breath work start, and what have you learned throughout it?
I originally, Wim Hof for me was the first introduction to breathing in a different way, for sure. To be fair, he has done incredible things for introducing people to reconnecting to their breath. And the fact that he's probably actually encouraging, I'd say, more males in a way because of his masculine energy, because of the way he's coming about it. He's still breathing and then he's drinking beer, and it resonates with guys. Definitely does. And also, guys are still in their doing state a lot of the time. That masculine energy of like, oh, I've got to do it. That Wim Hof just stimulates that. So they probably feel really good because they're just like fired up and ready to keep doing. So that's where I first was introduced to it, was Wim Hof. But then I discovered a free SOMA breath course. It was like a 7-day free course, and I sent it to my mom, I sent it to my brother, and I just dived into it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then my mom, she turns around and she's like, oh, by the way, I'm buying you the instructor course. And I was like, okay, but why? And I said to her, oh, if you want to contribute to something, maybe if you want to pay towards the current course I was doing my primal health coaching course. So I was like, oh, you can contribute to this if you want. And she's like, no, I want you to do this one because I wanted to do the course. So she wanted to buy it, but then because she wanted then to kind of me to almost go through it with her. But then I was the one who did all the course. I did all the coursework and got the qualifications at the end. So that just really opened up that door for me. The things that, yeah, she just stepped into the light and just kind of not forced me to, but made sure that I was doing it. And it really was the thing that was missing. It was the underlying kind of foundation to everything else I've learned.
Wow, that's really cool. Your mom gets to be your mom and your fairy godmother.
Very grateful for what she's done, yeah.
That's dope. So what is SOMA breathing?
So SOMA breath is a breathwork technique. It was created by a guy, his name's Niraj Naik. He was in hospital with an ulcerative colitis and was told that he would need surgery or medication. And he's a pharmacist by trade. And a friend of his told him, oh, if you can heal yourself, but you can then share your message and help others heal. So then he dived into it. And Soma breath is it is pranayama in a way. So it is one of the arms of yoga, the limbs of yoga. But Soma in itself is from the ancient rishis, and it was a plant medicine that they would take during the Golden Age festival, and it would allow them to connect with their higher selves, with the guides, to receive downloads of information to improve humanity and society. And they ran out of Soma. So when they ran out of Soma, they were like, shit. So they ran out of this plant. So then they had to find alternative ways of connecting again. And then they went inwards and discovered that through their breath, they can still get in those altered states of consciousness and connect with the higher beings and receive downloads of information. So that's where, and he's taken that, and we do different rhythms of breathing for different responses, essentially, to the body.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so for example, we might do something like Wim Hof, where it's faster breathing, deep in, deep out, again, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. It's really good for energizing. But then we might breathe in a rhythm, and all of this is usually to music. We might breathe in a rhythm of 4 in, 8 out, like we said, which activates the parasympathetic. We might breathe in a rhythm of 4 in, 4 out, which is a place of heart coherence. So there we're trying to balance, get the brain and the heart to come together. And when we add in a place of gratitude into that, it's the perfect place to try and manifest, to create what it is we want. Because you think about so many people, they come, when they're trying to manifest, they're thinking one thing and their heart is saying something else. They're like, I want this, but their heart is living in scarcity. It's not very happy. It's coming from a place of, I need it. When we kind of combine the gratitude with the manifestation, then it kind of blows up. It's so much more powerful.
Oh my God. So it kind of sounds like the way you approach breath work is kind of set an intention, and then based on the intention, you have like a menu of like different recipes of breathing to kind of aid that intention.
Exactly, yeah. And sometimes that can be healing and trauma release as well.
Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. And you just kind of blew my mind, because although it totally makes sense intuitively, wow, that's awesome. So for creativity, if you wanted to like stimulate creativity, you could probably use what you were just mentioning, the heart
coherence. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, we're gonna have to together and do some of that for sure, because I've never done a breath work ceremony like that.
And that's it. Every time I guide a live session, normally my intuition tells me what I am going to guide it on. When I've tried to kind of say, okay, this is what we're going to focus on this session, often I get into the session, I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not what I need. I connect with the people who are there in the session, and often I'll be like, okay, yeah, we're going to focus on love today, or we're going to focus on healing or release work, or yeah. And normally everyone's like, yes, that's exactly what I needed. That is exactly the energy I was feeling, and yeah.
That's so cool. So you kind of like step in and like energetically make a diagnosis.
That's what it feels like, yeah.
Dude, that is so cool. So what happens if, let's say, you're going into a planned ceremony and you're like, okay, this is probably what we're planning for, but you know, it may change. Like, how do you just have like playlists for any occasion, or how do you plan for that?
So I use from SOMA Breath. We get access to a lot of different music that's specifically created,
Oh,
and there's different tracks that will have different breathing rhythms. So then I can essentially kind of slot them together. I can either mix live, or normally I'll prepare and I've got a bunch that I've already made. And sometimes I can actually use the same track, but it's how I speak. Sure. You think about, if you speak energetically, it's going to raise people's vibration. They're going to just like speak calm. It's going to help them calm themselves down. So it's really, I've used one track for full on release, and I've used it for like just going into a deep state of relaxation. Same track.
wow. Man, you're like literally blowing my mind. That's so cool. And I have noticed through this conversation, your pace of talking, like sometimes it like really slows down. And anytime you do that, I even feel like I get kind of slowed down. I'm like, yeah, let's relax. And then sometimes like I have noticed like it picks up. And that makes me kind of reflect on how I talk. And I know, like, as soon as you say something that I'm like, what? I start getting like super excited. And we're like right now, the way I'm talking is like, ugh. And I'm like thinking about how I'm breathing through all of this. And it's just like, yeah, my breath is all over the place. Like, no kidding, I had mad anxiety. Like,
And that's it. Breath. The crazy thing is, we don't feel anxiety until it's too late. But if you're like, 1 minute, I'm breathing faster, I'm going to slow it down. Then you can probably catch that anxiety before it even hits.
yes.
But
Oh my
often people don't
goodness.
pick up and they go, oh shit, I'm having an anxiety attack. But it's already like in, and then the anxiety develops even more because they're just like, shit, I'm having an anxiety attack. Then start breathing faster
Then you
again.
get a panic attack, which is just the most awesome experience ever. Highly recommend. Not really. Okay, my dog is asking me to give her something. I will be right back.
I did notice them wandering.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that big. Thank you.
No problem. Dogs, they've got needs.
Yes, and I am here to honor them apparently.
They don't have opposable thumbs. It's just the way they were created.
Yeah, they really could just open the fridge on their own and stop bugging me, but that would be a dangerous skill to teach them. I have thought about it though. Definitely have considered it.
Would be pretty amazing.
So funny. So again, like picking back up with how can we connect to our breath like on a daily basis? Do you have like a daily practice for yourself?
For myself, I would start the day with a 20-minute breathwork session every day. And normally I would add in a longer one another day of the week, one day of the week where I can. But really, it's trying to become aware of your breath throughout the day. I think that's the most important thing, because breathing in a rhythm for 20 minutes and then going about the rest of the day without even being conscious of your breath is not gonna make up for the incorrect breathing throughout the day. So a simple thing really would be to have like a reminder on your phone a few times a day. It's like, how are you breathing? Just a little alarm. And then you just kind of go, okay, stop for a minute. It doesn't even have to be long, and just connect with your breath. How am I breathing? Am I breathing in and out through my nose, mouth? What's going on? Because it's just those little kind of reminders that I think then we can start building habits. Then we start kind of go, oh shit, no, I'm breathing through my mouth. Okay, I'm going to breathe in through my nose. And those breaths we did at the beginning, 4 in, 8 out, 6 of them can really help lower people's blood pressure, can really bring people's heart rate down, and just connect to that present moment. So I think if you had a reminder on your phone, just to go, when that goes off, okay, how am I breathing? Then do 6, 4 in, 8 out, and then go back to your normal day. That would be enough to really start making that awareness. But breathing 4 in, 8 out, obviously, like I said, isn't the way you want to be breathing all the time. But the reason why I say that is 4 in, 8 out is because most people probably are stressed at that time when their alarm goes off. Because they're probably sitting in front of the computer or TV or somewhere. But if you're not in a stressed state, then, just slow 4 in, 4 out.
Yeah, would you say, like, let's say I just got done driving and it was super stressful. I get back to my house, and that's something I could like apply instead of like going in and start like yelling at my kids. I don't have kids, but I'm just making a scenario up. Instead of being like, I'm already triggered from driving and I'm here and like the dishes are dirty, whatever. Instead of like doing that, that would be like a good point for me to do that, like check in with my breath and change my state of mind by connecting with my breathing and intentionally slowing it down. So does that mean when we're really stressed, we're like breathing a lot and faster?
Often can be, yeah. And it can be shallow. Like, you think about somebody who's breathing, who's depressed, anxious. How are they breathing?
Shallow.
Shallow. So they're breathing into the top of the chest, often mouth breathing. And they're not using those lower lungs. Whereas when people do stop and connect to their breath, the big thing is as well, it's like breathing in through the nose, but also breathing into the diaphragm, the bit below the rib cage. It's like the top of the belly almost. We're not breathing into the belly, but we want to feel that bit expand.
In
then
a
we're
way,
using those lower parts of the lungs.
in a way, this kind of sounds to me like this is something we all need to be doing on a daily basis, connecting to our breath, and obviously like building as we go, because I just kind of made the relation in my head of like, hey, this is like working out for your lungs. And I think 2020, if it taught us anything, is like, one, health is important and don't take it for granted. 2, lung health, because like, hello, COVID. So if you have healthier lungs and lungs that are like being worked out, probably gonna have lungs that can resist more in case, you get sick or whatever.
And that's the thing we do in SOMA breath. We do breath holds on the exhale. So when we do breath holds on the exhale, we enter a state of intermittent hypoxia. So the oxygen levels are dropping. So we're actually teaching our body to become more CO2 tolerant. And what is COVID? COVID was like not enough oxygen getting to the body, and as well, it's more of a shock to most people because they're used to having too much oxygen in their body, which also too much oxygen, too much breathing is linked to most chronic diseases.
Wow. That's insane to me that your breath can affect your state of like health so much, and nobody, like, this is not common knowledge, at least not where I came from.
It's not common knowledge, and that's the more I learn about the breath, it is just more and more mind-blowing. It's like To me, it's like, imagine a pharmaceutical company who made a pill that helps you lose weight, that helps you reduce blood pressure, helps you release stress, so many different things, improve creativity. Imagine that pill, that people would be going out buying that pill left, right, and center. But the crazy thing is, that is our breath. That is literally our breath. The breath can do so many things. Activate stem cell production. It is just insane what the breath can do.
Wow.
But yet we're all just like sitting at home waiting for, unfortunately, a crazy vaccine, instead of going, okay, you know what? How can I improve my own immune system by breathing correctly? How can I improve my lung health? How can I improve my overall health while I'm stuck at home?
Okay, I just want to learn all of the breathwork techniques and as much as I can, get my hands into. So, what kind of events are you leading? Workshops? What do you have in the works?
I currently host nearly every day of the week. Actually, I run a live online breathwork session. Morning sessions will normally be on a Friday morning. I normally do like a bit of movement. We'll activate both sides of the brain with a bit of movement, and then we go into an energized breathwork. So it's normally faster breathing, like 2 in, 2 out, or 2 in, 4 out, then into 2 in, 2 out, sometimes getting even faster again. So it's kind of in line with probably Wim Hof style. Most evenings as well, I run longer sessions, 40 minutes to 60 minutes of breathing, and they are deeper, normally focusing on relaxation, releasing energy, activating love, good feelings, gratitude. Just feel good afterwards and sleep well. And yeah, I run in those sessions nearly every day of the week. But obviously my time zone's Lisbon, so depends on where people are coming from. But then I host a membership site as well that allows people to access recordings of the sessions. If they can't make it live, they can have that on their phone, so they can be sitting on a bus and you can listen to the breath work on the bus, and you can still breathe and do breath work on the bus. Or you can't do it obviously while you're driving, but if you're in public transport, you can still do a breath work session. That's what I used to do when I was working in Lisbon. I'd be on the train at 6:30 in the morning, and I'd do my breath work on the train, 20-minute breath work session, just to get going for the day and still get it in.
Wow, that's really awesome that it's something you can even do on the go.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, not while you're driving, but anything else. That's really awesome. So I honestly just want to say that the first time I heard breathwork ceremony, I was a little bit afraid because, again, I'm a super anxious person, and you might see me and be like, dude, you have blue hair. You look like you'll try anything. You were afraid. Yes, I definitely was. So for some people that might be listening, might be curious, but a little bit afraid, what would you have to say to people like me?
Take it slow. And I would be cautious. If you do have a trauma, you have some underlying trauma, take it really slow, because a deep ceremony can unfortunately reactivate those traumas and actually can make people go backwards in terms of dealing with that trauma. So it can be basically thrown in the deep end if you're not careful.
That kind of also reminds me of advice for psychedelics.
Exactly. Yeah. Same
or
advice.
Honestly, anything really, because even me with health and fitness, I tried, I was in the depression, I gained probably 60 pounds, and my approach to getting rid of the 60 pounds was okay, I'm just gonna do whatever, insert name of fad diet here. I'm gonna do it balls deep for 3 months, and if I don't lose all the weight, then I'm a piece of shit and this doesn't work, which is basically the approach we're saying not to take. Take it slow. Crawl, walk, run. There are no fucking shortcuts. I mean, except for love.
like the same somebody who's never worked out and they want to get fit and they go to a CrossFit box and just get destroy themselves in one sitting and then never go back again.
Yes,
People
exactly
do
the
that.
same.
Everybody does that.
Yes, I know I am guilty of all of those things. And I also am here to say that whenever I apply this like slow, like introduction, again, crawl, walk, run, and I just made the commitment to stick with myself throughout the whole journey, at least, I wait until I can like start kind of running in the journey to decide whether something is for me or isn't. But I definitely commit to like going through the steps.
I think so many people, including myself, need to remember getting to where we are now has not happened overnight. Whether that's like bad health or whatever, wherever we are, it's not happened overnight. So why should we expect the change to happen overnight? We really need to pause and enjoy that process again of like, okay, you know what, I'm making these changes to become a better person. And I need to enjoy that process. Keep visualizing, seeing where you want to be, but don't be put down when things don't go as planned, because it's not going to go as planned all the time. It's not going to be perfect, plain sailing, just straight A to B. Oh, yeah, look at that. Easy. It's not going to be easy.
It's okay to take detours sometimes, even if unplanned.
And that's what makes it exciting.
That's so true. That is what makes it exciting. Also terrifying, but hey, that's a quick reframe. Anxiety is the exact same feeling as excitement. The only thing that changes excitement to anxiety is like a quick mental reframe, because the neurotransmitter is the exact same one.
Where did you learn that?
I'm actually really into flow. So I love all of the work by the guys from the Flow Research Collective. If you know Steven Kotler's work at all, he will teach you everything you want to know about the brain, neurochemicals, working with your biology. And he has written like 23 books or something crazy like that. So his level of communication is absolutely insane, and I would even dare say impeccable. Like he just in one sentence will teach you what like a whole book is about. He's fucking amazing. Highly recommend.
Oh, the reason I asked that is because he talks about that as well.
Who?
My wife.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so it was just like, yeah. She's always talking about that.
It's a good thing to know.
It is. Feeling anxious, tell yourself that you're excited.
Yep, it's such a quick reframe. And eventually it does work because you feel the exact same. It's just how you approach the next steps that change. Just like breathing, we take it for granted, but if you just mindfully think about the next steps that you're going to do and, commit to the intention of why you're doing it, then you can do so much for your health, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's hell of a lot for your health. And if only people come out of this podcast and just realize that by extending their exhale, they can put themselves back into a rest and digest state, then that's the biggest thing I want people to learn.
And that is such a great gift to have. I would say that would be a great technique to use anytime you've overeaten, because then you can just really probably get to feel it in your body, especially if you have issues with digestion. That like incorporating this around that time will really show you some results. I only say that because I have heartburn. And I just got this random recent heartburn recently. And the thing that has worked the best to make it better is breathing. It's breath work. Like as soon as I start feeling it, just connect to my breath and do that breath work to stimulate my nervous system to calm down. I'm like able to make it go away. And I sound like a total crazy person, but this is why I'm so passionate about breath work, because through my experiences with it, just being curious, like, oh, can I use this for this? I'll notice it works for some things that seem stupid, like heartburn, like just take a Tums, no big deal. But, I know that I'm still anxious and I can still feel like my breathing just be all kind of wacky. So any chance I get to reconnect with it, I'll take it and I'll do it. And I can always see a difference.
Yeah. And it is sometimes hard to believe it is that simple.
So through your breathwork journey, or your journey with breathwork, what is like your most favorite experience that you've had?
Personal experience or for other people?
I would say personal.
Yeah. I have had full-on ayahuasca-like experiences where I've seen what I need to know around personal development and growth. And yeah, it brought me to full-on tears. I'd be crying, I'd be shaking, but then I'd be in a state of bliss as well. And these are the long journeys that I'd say people should be careful of. But they really do allow you to go deep inside of yourself and find those shadows. Find those shadows inside and work with them and appreciate them. Not kind of be like, oh, I need it out of me. It's like, oh no, acknowledge it, forgive it, send it love, and just move through it. And it's just leads to that state of bliss. My last session, long session I did for myself was like that. And my wife ended up coming over to me and checking I was okay, because I was sat up. I should have laid down for that session. And I went super, super deep, and I kind of ended up falling over into the bedside table, knocked my bottle of water over. But I came out of it and my wife's hand was on my heart, and I was just in so much bliss. I was like smiling. I'm crying because I was like smiling. I wasn't in any bad state at all. I was just in a place of white light, love, just colors. It was just incredible. But she's probably looking at me going, oh my God, what the hell's going on?
Luckily, she has her own experience with it, so she probably knew you were okay.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
How beautiful. And what a cool thing that you get to share with all of the people that you love and all of us all over the world that you get to do this. Wow. Pauly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for sharing that, for having the courage to, fight all of the things that we all have to fight with our conditioning, and just putting in the work so you're able to share all of this with us. Thank you, brother.
No, thank you for creating the space for people to share as well. Really appreciate it.
Anytime. And we'll definitely have to get together and maybe like host a breathwork ceremony. I would love if we could do that for the creative community, because I know a lot of us may seem more open-minded than we actually are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Would really love that, brother. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for doing what you do and doing it like you do it, my friend.
Much love.
Much love. Peace.
Bye-bye.